Yeah.
Yo,
They ain't gonna like it.
give me a second.
They ain't gonna like it.
They ain't gonna like it.
I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad. Same old nigga from the block. Same old nigga with the pot. The same old nigga from the trap. Everybody hated on him, then he bounced right back. I just spent a whole lot of time overseas. Doubling my money cause you know I want cheese. I've been in my hometown playing with the keys when they fell off the boat. Yeah, I'm talking about release. I know it's a whole lot of niggas that was hating. I know it's a whole lot of bitches that was taken. So I shut the niggas up, bitches feeling us. Always knew that I was sick, so I had to stay patient. Taking over summer, nigga, tell me what's the bid. Heard you still cuffing, nigga, tell me what it is. You ain't paying no bills, buying no bags, buying no heels. Goddamn, let a bitch live. All I see is 20s, 50s, 100s. If it ain't quarter meal, fuck the whip. I don't want it, about to make this nigga sick to the stomach. I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad. Same old nigga from the block. Same old nigga with the pot. The same old nigga from the trap. Everybody hated on him, then he bounced right back. She was acting stingy, now she wanna give it up. Fast like OT, I'ma live it up. Now my ex-girl tryna make me jealous cause she got a new nigga. She don't know that I don't give a fuck. I got me a deal, but I'm still in the street. Heard a couple niggas talking like they got beat. They forgot sesame, teriyaki sauce with the rice on the side. Sweaty pussy nigga sweet. I got all this money on my motherfucking mind. Diamonds in my dial, I can't even see the time. All my niggas pull up, please don't let me bang the line. And they super extra when them niggas off the line. All I know is Bloods, Crips, Pyrus. I'm a west side nigga, don't get it fucked up. Nigga sick cause they thought I locked up. I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad.
Everybody mad.
Same old nigga from the block. Same.
I'm gonna have to run that back.
Yeah. They ain't gonna like it. They ain't gonna like it. I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad. Same old nigga from the block. Same old nigga with the pot. The same old nigga from the trap. Everybody hated on him, then he bounced right back.
We got the hell in the
a whole
building.
lot of time overseas.
We got mail in the building.
Cause you know I want cheese. I've been in my hometown playing with the keys when they fell off the boat. Yeah, I'm talking about release. I know it's a whole lot of niggas that was hating. I know it's a whole lot of bitches that was taken. So I shut the niggas up, bitches feeling us. Always knew that I was sick, so I had to stay patient. Taking over summer, nigga, tell me what's the bid. Heard you still cuffing, nigga, tell me what it is. You ain't paying no bills, buying no bags, buying no heels. Goddamn, let a bitch live. All I see is 20s, 50s, 100s. If it ain't quarter meal, fuck the whip. I don't want it, about to make this nigga sick to the stomach. I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad. Same old nigga from the block. Same old nigga with the pot. The same old nigga from the trap. Everybody hated on him, then he bounced right back. She was acting stingy, now she wanna give it up. Fast like OT, I'ma live it up. Now my ex-girl tryna make me jealous cause she got a new nigga. She don't know that I don't give a fuck. I got me a deal, but I'm still in the street. Heard a couple niggas talking like they got beat. They forgot sesame, teriyaki sauce with the rice on the side. Sweaty pussy nigga sweet. I got all this money on my motherfucking mind. Diamonds in my dial, I can't even see the time. All my niggas pull up, please don't them niggas off the line. All I know is blood, Crips, Pyros. I'm a West Side nigga, don't get it fucked up. Niggas sick cause they thought I locked up. I be getting to the money, everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money.
I'm live right now.
Everybody mad.
Yeah, come on in. Alright.
Same old nigga from the block. Same old nigga with the pot. The same old nigga from the trap. Everybody.
Alright, okay, alright. What the fuck's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? So, yeah. This what's going on. All the rhetoric and going back and forth and playing games and talking to people and all of that, all that's over with. Now we get down to the nuts and bolts. We get down to the, you know what I mean? The grits is almost done. The gumbo is almost complete. Everybody plead guilty. Everybody around here talking about they ain't got shit and all these different scenarios and this gonna happen and this gonna happen and this is the setup and this is who did it and this is who did it. I talked to Tasha and all of that shit. It's time to tune it out. It's time to get back to what we came here for, and that is being on the front lines for all of these victims. And a lot of you have been on the front line for me. A lot of you been on the front line for the Savages. A lot of you been on the front line for the Rogers. A lot of you been on the front line for Lizette. A lot of you been on the front line for the Clarys. A lot of you been on the front line for a lot of these families. So as these next couple of things come out here, and all of these people go before these judges, and you'll see at the top of the hour, anybody that goes down there and they have to deal with these people, they're gonna plead guilty. They're gonna beg to plead guilty. They're gonna get on their knees and they're gonna scrape with their nails till blood come out of them. Please, please let me plead guilty. And you're gonna see that every single time. These are some of the smartest people in the world. You have to respect their power. You have to respect their subpoena power. Everything that I've told you since day one on this channel, eventually in the next 6 months, you're gonna see that is true. You're gonna see time and time again that if you looked at this case carefully, if you looked at the rhetoric on YouTube, if you looked at the ties to certain people, how this thing is shaping up and shipping out, you're gonna see. None of them people over there can run me. It's what's the word? I think I can say it. It's exasperating. I don't know if I said that right, but I know what it means. Going back and forth with the same people every day about the same shit, and they don't take time out. As you can see, a lot of these people, they can't even read this shit. Like, how the fuck you gonna tell me he didn't do something and you can't even read what the fuck is going on with him? You gotta have a computer read it. You know, a lot of these people don't have 9th grade educations. So, I'm going to read it. Anyone's welcome to come and listen, right? Because I don't have long. We got business at the top of the hour. Okay, the government respectfully submits this letter to request an order requiring the defendant to preserve, to not disseminate, and at the conclusion of the trial and above referenced matter to return all material produced to pursuant 18 U.S.C. 3500 material. As set forth below, the defendant has no right to retain such material, and such an order is appropriate in this case. A proposed order is enclosed. The discussion. The Jinx Act does not create or maintain possession of any government witness statements after trial. The act requires that only the government make these statements available to the defendant for the purposes of cross-examination and defines the timing of such disclosures. United States versus Garcia. Jinx requires the government to produce copies of its witness statements for inspections by the defense for purposes of cross-examination. It does not give defendants a property interest in such statements or require the multiplication of copies of. Then we have a sub. We go down to a subtitle. It's going to be a bunch of these, and this is number one. One of Kelly's attorneys advised that he does not consent to the proposed order, and particularly to the provision that does not allow the defendant to maintain printed copies of the material at the jail. For the reasons described herein, the government respectfully submits that the proposed order is necessary to protect the witnesses from undue harassment and will not impede the preparation of the defense at trial. So we're going to go back and talk about the Jinx, internal prosecution notes or reports or whatever used the defendant to make use of them. The danger posed to witnesses as a result of the unwarranted disclosure of the Jinx Act material is significant. It's set forth extensively in the government's motion for an anonymous and partially sequestered jury, which motion the court granted, and prior memoranda. The defendant has a history of obstructive conduct, including the following, and potential witnesses have already been subjected to significant harassment. Example: in connection with this trial in state court in 2008, the defendant persuaded multiple individuals to testify falsely before a Cook County grand jury. Indeed, the indictment the defendant faces in the Northern District of Illinois, NDIL, charges him with conspiring to intimidate victims and conceal evidence in an effort to obstruct law enforcement, including with respect to an investigation in 2000 that resulted in the defendant's 2008 state court trial on child pornography charges, of which he was acquitted. Specifically, the NDIL indictment charges that in 2001, the defendant and other individuals began paying an acquaintance hundreds of thousands of dollars to collect videos of child pornography for the purpose of concealing and covering up their existence. When the acquaintance later planned to hold a news conference to publicly announce that he had recovered the videos, the defendant and others paid him approximately $170,000 in exchange for agreeing to cancel the event. The defendant and other individuals also agreed to pay two persons for their efforts to return the videos, but only after they took polygraph examinations to confirm that they had returned all copies in their possession. Another one. Following a lawsuit filed on behalf of Jane Doe No. 6 against the defendant, a lawyer for Jane Doe No. 6 received a typewritten letter in 2018 purportedly signed by the defendant. Enclosed with the letter were two pieces of paper that contained images and typewritten text. Among the images were photographs of Jane Doe No. 6 that had been apparently cropped to not disclose certain body parts. Beneath the photograph was text including, "I assure you this will not be a Sunday to go meeting dress." The next two pictures have been cropped for the sake of exposing her extremities to the world, yet based on the content of the letter, photograph, and text message between the defendant and another individual, it is reasonable to conclude that the letter was sent at the defendant's discretion and for its benefit, advising Jane Doe No. 6 of his content to maintain compromising photographs of her in an attempt to convince Jane Doe No. 6 to abandon her lawsuit. On August 11, 2020, a complaint was unsealed charging Donnell Russell with the pattern of harassing Jane Doe No. 6, which began prior to the government's investigation of the defendant but continued through January 2020 in an attempt to intimidate Jane Doe No. 6 and persuade her to abandon a civil lawsuit against the defendant. Let me go back up. We got number 2. Remember I read number 1. On October 26, 2018, at 7:48 p.m., an individual sent a text message to the defendant that said, question, "Do you have a way of sending me one more picture showing her phone number at the top? I'm going to print it and include it, along with the other 3, and include them in a letter to her attorney. Do you agree that she should really know her client?" In response, on October 27, 2018 at 2:46 a.m., the defendant responded in a text message, "I'm going to get you more." Ugh, that's guilty of the motherfucker. Okay, in another instance, the defendant has told multiple individuals, including one as recently as 2018, that they needed to select a side, his side or the other side, and implicitly threatened that selecting the other side could result in physical harm to that person or that person's family. In another instance, also on August 11, 2022, complaints were unsealed charging Richard Arline Jr. and Michael Williams in connection with separate schemes to interfere with witnesses the government intends to call to testify at the defendant's trial. They get case law. Arline Jr. was charged with attempting to bribe a government witness in exchange for her agreement to not to testify against the defendant. Williams was charged with setting a car on fire in an attempt to intimidate a government witness. In addition, in a separate complaint, which was unsealed on or about August 14th, Russell was also charged in the Southern District with placing a threatening phone call to a theater in Manhattan to prevent December 4, 2018 screening of Surviving R. Kelly, the docuseries exploring allegations of the defendant's sexual abuse of minor girls and adult women. Specifically, in the threatening phone call, the caller complained in substance that there was an individual in the theater with a gun and he planned to shoot up the theater if the screening went forward. Finally, several potential government witnesses have been the subject of repeated threats of physical harm, including death threats via social media posts and messages by individuals who are fans of the defendant and have no other ties to him. At the detail of the complaint charging Russell in late 2020, Russell identified himself as Kelly advisor, friend, and consultant. In light of the defendant's history of obstructive conduct and the involvement of others, including strangers, in schemes to hold on, listen. Hold on. I know you don't see the document. In light of the defendant's history of obstructive conduct and the involvement of others, including strangers, in schemes to harass, intimidate, and physically harm potential government witnesses, there is significant risk that civilian and victim witnesses who may testify against the defendant may be subject to harassment or, far worse, dissemination of the Jinx Act material to increase the risk to such witnesses, even if their assistance to law enforcement have previously been disclosed. Indeed, the context of the Jinx Act material related to cooperating witnesses in the court, and Garcia explains as follows. There will be cases in which casual attitude toward the handling of 35 material is ill-advised. In particular, the wide dissemination of statements by cooperating witnesses are regarded as snitches or rats by their criminal associates poses obvious dangers. It is enough to say, as the defendant argued in this case, that the damage is done by the mere disclosure that witnesses have cooperated with the authorities. Hard evidence of the witness's betrayal can facilitate retaliation or intimidation of the witness. It is therefore appropriate in a case where such retaliation may be feared to restrict the circulation of such material. Then they give case law. Here, the witnesses are at issue are not the defendant criminal associates, but rather the victims who were exploited by the defendant, in some cases physically assaulted by the defendant, and other civilian witnesses associated with these victims. The risk of retaliation or intimidation of such witnesses is even greater than such risk posed in cases involving cooperating witnesses. Well, that would be about me. Okay, then they give case law. The distribution of any disclosed Jinx materials to any individual outside the trial defendants, trial counsel, and their paralegals and legal staff is strictly prohibited, and such distribution will be met with sanctions. Moreover, I order that all Jinx material be returned to the government within 48 hours of completion of the trial in this matter. As reflected in the enclosed proposed protective order, the government intends to label Jinx Act material for such civilian and victim witnesses protected 3,500 materials subject to additional restrictions. In this case, given the defendant's own history of obstruction and the extensive harassment of certain potential government witnesses, the government respectfully submit that the order restricting the dissemination of 3,500 material in this way is warranted. The government also respectfully submits that the defendant should not be permitted to retain printed copies of the protected 3,500 materials in the jail outside of the presence of counsel. Were the defendants permitted to do so, the government will have no means to ensure that other inmates did not access and further disseminate the material. Indeed, in light of the extensive coverage of the allegations on social media and otherwise, there is real likelihood that if other inmates learned of the contents of the 3,500 materials, those inmates could have both the motivation and means to further disseminate the contents, and in so doing, cause significant harm to the government witness. Conclusion: for the foregoing reason, the government motion should be granted, and the court should enter the proposed order. So it also says at the bottom, the protective order allows the defendant to retain and access an electronic copy of the 3,500 protected material. The government has been advised by counsel of the Bureau of Prison, consistent with their practice, the defendant is given access to a discovery computer at the facilities to review electronic materials. Right? Okay. So this next part is the actual order. I don't know if y'all want to hear this. I'm going to read it anyway. All materials produced by the government at the defendant pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 3,500 and copies thereof, Section 3,500 material, shall be returned to the government within 10 days upon conclusion of the trial in the above captioned case. The defendant and his counsel are prohibited from disclosing or disseminating the Section 3,500 material to anyone other than the defendant, his counsel who have filed notices of appearances in the above referenced case, defense investigators or staff assistant defense counsel, such as an investigators and staff, shall be informed of and shall be bound by the entirety of this order. The defendant is prohibited from taking any Section 3,500 material labeled protected 3,500 material or any paper or electronic copies of any summaries of such materials into any jail facility other than the courthouse, or from possessing such material or copies in any such facilities except when reviewing the material in the presence of defense counsel or staffing assisting such counsel. The defendant may, however, possesses in a jail facility compact discs of the 3,500 material and may review such material outside the presence of the defense counsel or staff assisting such counsel. Protected 3,500 material possessed by the defendant in each jail facility may not be printed and is subject to all restrictions as set forth paragraph 2. Violation of those restrictions may deem contempt to court. Okay, so a lot of things going on. You know what I mean? A lot of things going on at one time. So stay woke, stay out the way, stay out of their drama. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. And hold on, give me 1 second. Stay on your square. It's time out for games. It's time out for playing. I don't care what blogger or who got to say what. We've been around long enough to have confidence in what we would deem to be the truth. We're gonna we're gonna stay focused on what we doing, and we're gonna let them do what they do. You know, it's a time to play games, and it's a time to be smart. I really think that this is the time to be smart. If you go to my Patreon right now, it is it's a court hearing for Arline Jr. at the top of the hour. He's gonna be pleading guilty. Michael Williams is gonna be pleading guilty. Eventually, Don Russell is gonna be pleading guilty. Like anybody that go down there and fuck with these people, is gonna be pleading guilty. You know, so it's sad, it's fucked up because a lot of these people are ruining their lives all for this man, and they're not considering the people that love them like their kids and their families, and most of all, their freedom. Um, these bloggers think that they can do anything to you. They think they can do wellness checks and they can do all of these things to you. I told you to just give me some time. You'll see that they can't. It's not fair. It's not right. You know, because as much as you don't like me, what the hell does my kids that go to school every day have to do with this? What does my wife have to do with this? Has she ever said anything mean to you? What does my daughter have to do with this? What does my neighbor have to do with this? Well, what does Rocky have to do with this? You know? So, you know, I don't know. If I see my name come up in these motions one time, I'm going to sue him for $80 billion. And I'm going to show you. I think the Savages was on the news network. I'm going to be on there every 5 minutes. So look, y'all got 30 minutes. Everybody get ready. Everybody mad. Everybody checking this shit to see if it say anything about you. It does. And I'm expecting the next one to say a whole lot more. You know, but hey, you did it to yourself. You can't blame nobody. I mean, everybody warned you. It's a federal case. You're tampering with federal witnesses. You're out here witness intimidating and threatening and doing shit in the name of him. You've associated yourself with people that's close to him. You've even went and associated yourself with lawyers. Some of you even went and associated yourself with judges. You put these people businesses. You put my business. You put fucking houses and operations and telephone numbers. And you listen to a crackhead that don't know anything about federal indictments, that don't know anything about this case. You followed him into a situation where now things is coming to the light. But I'm not going to keep processing this every day for you. You know, I took my content down. So when I put a video up here, it is to be watched. And then once they watch it, I'm going to take it down. You know, because this never was about clicks and views. This never was about gaining to see who run what. It's about getting the information out, and it's about standing in front of the victims and making sure that they don't get attacked 24 hours a day before they have a day in court. Right? So I'll be dropping that motion. Y'all know where it'll be. If you want to see it for yourself. No. Freedom of Information Act does not protect bloggers or news media from slandering, from interfering in a federal No, it doesn't. Period. You need to go and read it. I think a lot of people need to read that. You know, and it's not just getting on your page talking shit about a person. You're actually pulling the person's information. You're actually posting government filed documents that was filed with the Secretary of State. You're actually in connection with people that has blown up shit and bribed fucking witnesses, bribed motherfuckers, blown up shit, called them bomb threats. No, it's not the same. But we're not going to act like it's the same thing. We're not going to do that. That's what we're not going to do. But I'm not going to also, I don't care about them people. I don't care. Like, that's their business. That is a situation between them and prosecutors, not me. It's not a situation. Oh, I got a call. Yo.
Hey, what up?
What's going on?
So you said what time is his
I'm on live.
Oh, word. I'm gonna check out your live.
Yeah, 30 minutes. It come on in 30 minutes.
All right, bet.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Make sure I get this in. So, I don't know, man. Keep your head on the swivel. Don't have a lot to do with me. You know? It just don't. Don't have a lot to do with So, what up, Wings? What's going on? Well, I just read the indictment, but I didn't put it on the screen. I'm gonna drop it. Y'all know where to get it from. They contacted Mitch McConnell and harassed him about the judge in New York. That is so fucking dangerous. Man, hey man, like, hey, to each his own. You know what I mean? But this ain't the dummy crew over here. We smart crew. So, let's do it like this. Because I got to get out of here and get ready to go and listen to this shit.
Yeah. They ain't gonna like it. They ain't gonna like it. I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad. Same old nigga from the block. Same old nigga with the pot. The same old nigga from the trap. Everybody hated on him, then he bounced right back. I just spent a whole lot of time overseas. Doubling my money cause you know I want cheese. I've been in my hometown playing with the keys. When they fell off the boat, yeah, I'm talking about the leaves. I know it's a whole lot of niggas that was hating. I know it's a whole lot of bitches that was taken. So I shut the niggas up, bitches feeling us. Always knew that I was sick, so I had to stay patient. Taking over summer, nigga, tell me what's the bid. Hurt you still cuffing, nigga, tell me what it is. You ain't paying no bills, buying no bags, buying no heels. Goddamn, let a bitch live. All I see is 20s, 50s, 100s. If it ain't quarter meal, fuck the whip. I don't want it, about to make these niggas sick to their stomach. I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad. Same old nigga from the block. Same old nigga with the pot. The same old nigga from the trap. Everybody hated on him, then he bounced right back. She was acting stingy, now she wanna give it up. Fast like OT, I'ma live it up. Now my ex-girl tryna make me jealous cause she got a new nigga. She don't know that I don't give a fuck. I got me a deal, but I'm still in the street. Heard a couple niggas talking like they got beat. They forgot sesame, teriyaki sauce with the rice on the side. Sweaty pussy nigga sweet. I got all this money on my motherfucking mind. Diamonds in my dial, I can't even see the time. All my niggas pull up, please don't let me bang the line. And they super extra when them niggas off the line. All I know is Bloods, Crips, Pyrus. I'm a west side nigga, don't get it fucked up. Niggas sick cause they thought I locked up. I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad.
Alright, y'all.
Same old nigga from the block. Same old nigga with
anything else come out, I'll be back.
Nigga from the trap, everybody hated on him, then he bounced right back. I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad. Same old